I got asked Vince Young versus Kordell Stewart, and what did I think? Now, I'm going to start with the obvious. Two African American quarterbacks at a time when it wasn't easy. Oh, you take it for granted now because you see more players that have emerged. But at the time, respectively, both these guys didn't get the love or the juice that they should have. Kordell Stewart, I'll never forget when he beat my Michigan Wolverines with that deep pass. I'll never forget that mess. I was just sad about it. He came into the NFL known as Slash. You know, and you wonder if Charlie Ward could have came in the same situations. They weren't handing out black quarterback jobs for players. Even in the 90s, if you were a mobile quarterback, they wanted to make you into a flanker or to a wideout, a running back. They did everything. You remember what Bill Polian tried to say about Lamar Jackson a few years ago, even after he won the MVP? Black mobility quarterbacks, it's like people have this I understand because they're not used to black quarterbacks. There is still a whole generation that grew up without seeing black quarterbacks, and that's a fact. And you have to bring up the racial component in it because if you go 40s, 50s, 60s, mainly of the 70s, and until you get to the mid to late 80s, it was unheard of to see a team having a black quarterback for the most part. It was very rare. Even way to the midsection of the 90s until you got to the end. So when Kordell Stewart got to play for the Steelers with Neil O'Donnell and Bill Cowher's offense for the Steelers, it was kind of like a novelty because you think about 20 years prior, there was a guy named Joe Gilliam who ran circles around Terry Bradshaw. He never got a chance to start. But if you went to Tennessee State University, Broadway Joe Gilliam was a known commodity. He had one of the baddest arms ever. And Bradshaw, he would tell you that Joe Gilliam was a better talent. But politics, you know, racial components are just a fact. So Kordell Stewart would fit in great today. You know, when I see Justin Fields, I see some of the mobility of Kyler Murray. He was like 30 years ahead of his role, what he did. You know. Then we get to Vince Young, the greatest college football game I've ever seen. The 05 for Texas against USC. He was a Heisman Trophy and he won in their house. You couldn't be more ruthless than he was. Can't say NFL had a sidearm type of way he threw the ball, was mobile, was smart. But you had people like idiots like Stephen A. Smith question the man because he threw with a side motion as opposed to just saying the guy won games, which he did. But the NFL wasn't, again, not as adventurous, not ahead of the curve, But when I saw David Gerard for Jacksonville, when I seen certain type of pocket passers, certain guys, Tyrod Taylor to an extent, certain guys, there's no reason why Vince Young couldn't have flown.